So that's what node 3 is cycling through, and while that's happening, let's go back to node 1 because we are ready to install Nova on it. So node 1 is ready. It's at the login prompt. So let's go back to the bar clamp for Nova. But before we install Nova, I said there are a whole bunch of prerequisites. We need to install MySQL. So here's where I apply the proposal, the chef proposal. So I have MySQL 1, that's my proposal. I'm going to go ahead and create this proposal, and I want this MySQL server to be running on the controller node, which is already set up, and I'll go ahead and apply this. So notice that at the top, the node is still not ready, so therefore this proposal is queued. So as soon as the node gets ready, it's going to go ahead and apply that proposal. So I'll go ahead and finish up the rest of the controller node operations here. So I got MySQL, which is pending for the node to get ready. I'll go ahead and install deploy Keystone. So that's my Keystone proposal. And the same thing, I want this on a controller node. I'll go ahead and apply Keystone to that. So now this is queued up, so I have a Keystone service will be up and running as soon as the node is ready. My next one would be in that order because all of these guys need each other. And next I'm going to install Glance. And Glance requires a whole bunch of parameters here which are part of the recipe. And I want that on the controller node as well, so I'll apply this. So there you go. So all of these are successfully queued for execution, and as soon as they're done, I should be ready to install Nova Dashboard. So I'm going to bring up Nova Dashboard. So that's my Nova Dashboard proposal, and I want that to be on the controller node as well, so I'll apply that. So each of these proposals will get executed at this state, right? So after the node cycles through these initial states, discovering the node, the hardware install, and the install base OS installed, this is where I just applied a whole bunch of proposals. I applied a Nova proposal, a Glance proposal, a MySQL proposal, and it's going through and applying that role to the node. And as soon as it's done, it'll be ready for use. So we'll see where we are. Go back here. Node 2 is ready. Node 3 is installing the OS. So let's go back to the dashboard, and you can see that the controller node is cycling through here. It's installing all those pieces that I just said it needs to deploy. So the Glance pieces, the Keystone pieces, MySQL, and also the Horizon dashboard. All of them are being deployed in the controller node. Nova node is ready, but I haven't deployed Nova yet. I'm just deploying all the pieces that are needed for Nova to work, but I don't have to wait for that to finish. So I'll go ahead and I'll say I need to deploy Nova as well. So here's my Nova installation. Oops, sorry, let me go back there. Go back to Crowbar. So Nova, I'll create a new proposal for that. And here, my controller node is on the controller node, my Nova compute is node 1, and controller multi-volume node is on controller node as well. So I'll go ahead and apply this as well. So now all the nodes are now in this final state of applying rules. So Chef is now actively working. It is applying the recipes. It's bringing up the appropriate role as we have identified. And as soon as that finishes, we'll have a Nova cluster up and running. So let's go back and see where we're at. So there you go. Node 2, Node 3 is our controller node. It's coming up now. It's booting into. We can accelerate this guy by saying boot from disk. So once the controller node comes up, there it is, it's up. Now all the chef recipes will get applied at this point. So Nova will start deploying. So let's go back to the Crowbar dashboard, and you will see that the Nova node is getting ready. So we have the entire cluster up and running now. It should be in a few minutes. And we should be able to get to the dashboard and create a couple of instances of Nova from there. So we have about 15 minutes for Q&A in the end. So if you have any questions at this point while this is coming up, we will be able to answer those. Any questions at this point on the phone, online, or in the rooms? Okay. Do you see anybody pinging on link?
And Commish, we have over here. We have Matt Ray just about ready to go. So
yeah, we can. Yeah, we're almost done. So another 5-10 minutes. If there are any questions, we'll take them. And
yeah, definitely. Let's go through questions.
Yeah, there is actually Morflabs is scheduled to talk at 2:30.
Okay, Matt thought he was at 2.
Yeah, Matt is at 3 o'clock.
Oh, okay. That's
Yep.
our mistake then.
Yep.
We'll just wait.
Yep.
Cool.
So other questions?
Alternate hardware.
Yeah, so yeah, you can create a bar clamp for other hardware. I mean, basically Crowbar is not really tied to any specific hardware. And so all the bar clamps and everything else that you saw can be created, can be developed for appropriate hardware that you might have. So if you have HP hardware or IBM or whatever.
Supermicro's been done too.
Yeah, Supermicro.
Yeah, actually, we've had people run on the Crowbar mailing list. We've had people ask about.
Yeah.
I think
we
the
asked
weirdest.
about HP.
Yeah, I think the weirdest one was a Sunfire, just because I guess he had it in his basement.
Yeah.
There are a few.
I know Supermicro's been done too.
Definitely Supermicro. We actually have had folks from HP chat in various ways on the mailing list. One thing that potentially, if you bring up the network bar clamp for a second, one of the things, there are a handful of hardware painful points under Crowbar. One of the big ones is network enumeration.
Yeah.
What happens is that it's in the latest kernel, it's a little bit better. Can you edit the, yes, edit that in raw mode. Yeah, so that's perfect. So this tiny little bit of thing, the issue is that when the operating system wakes up and says, hey, what old NICs do I have, they're typically enumerated by bus order. Dell has actually, Matt Domsch from Dell has contributed a piece of code that lets the BIOS determine the order. So on a Dell server, when you plug a cable into Ethernet, into NIC 0, and you want it to be Ethernet 0, you wouldn't want that to become something else when you plug in an add-on NIC. If the PCI bus order enumeration happens to look at the add-on NIC before the onboard ones, all of a sudden the new card will become ETH0.
Which is true for the HP hardware.
Which is true for a lot of servers because the hardware guys don't care about software. So it's a 5-minute process to go figure out what is the right enumeration, stick it in here for your particular hardware, and Crowbar will do the right thing. Other hardware-dependent things are things that you might want to add on, things like configuring the BIOS that would be hardware-specific, and configuring whatever things need to be configured before the operating system itself is deployed. So in the state machine of Crowbar, in the Crowbar state machine, you have that opportunity, and in the Crowbar framework, you have a hook to say, these are the things I need to do before I actually install the operating system, which is part of the orchestration orchestration layer that Crowbar adds on top of things like Chef and Puppet.
So question here on the IM chat. So if you use IBM and HP servers, which module reboots Nova Node for Pixie boot?
I hope I answered the right question because I'm not 100% sure I understand it. But Crowbar basically uses IPMI, so it should work as long as the particular server in question correctly implements IPMI. We issue IPMI chassis reset commands when you ask for a server to be rebooted. When we reboot the server as part of the transitions in between states in the state machine, we basically just tell the operating system to reboot, and if you're geeky on details, it uses ACPI, but that's inside the operating system concern. Was that the question? Did I answer it correctly? Did I answer the question you asked?
Crowbar can reboot PSF.
Can I ask a related question?
Go for it.
Regarding automated, the hardware installation phase.
Actually, before you go there was a clarification to the question, which is,
okay,
can Crowbar reboot physical servers from a remote site? So at this point, we are only looking at deployments within the same data center, just because of Pixie booting that requires quite a lot of bandwidth. You truly do not want to Pixie boot over a WAN link. Chef does allow you, we instrument the nodes to have passwordless SSH from the admin node to all the nodes in the cluster. So if you go crazy, then you could have a remote server and you could use things like knife SSH or SSH directly and issue a command to reboot the server.
Yeah.
But that's a little outside the envelope. Back to the hardware initializing question.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could elaborate a little more about Crowbar's support for automating the hardware installation phase.
So for the Dell branded version, the Crowbar Dell branded version has two additional bar clamps. One is the BIOS bar clamp, and the other one is the RAID bar clamp. The Crowbar framework, those bar clamps basically listen to hooks in the Crowbar application that get fired whenever a node transitions to a state. And they basically recognize that, oh, you're now going to be hardware installed. That's the internal name of a node transition to hardware installed. They basically go and inject themselves into the node's run list, the Chef run list. So the next time the node boots, the DHCP/TFTP server will coordinate to make it boot into Sledgehammer, or our all-purpose live image CD, and they will execute Chef when a Chef client run. The BIOS and RAID bar clamps contain recipes that know how to talk to the Dell hardware to go and configure the BIOS, update it to the supported firmware version, update the BMC, configure the BMC, IP addresses and other parameters, and go and inspect the RAID configuration and make sure it matches what we want it to be. So when you allocated a node, you can provide data on that, associated attributes on that node that say, what do you expect? Do you expect it to be JBOD, to have RAID, the storage system configured as JBOD, or to have the storage system configured as RAID 10, which is currently, it's more flexible than that. You can stick any value in there. These are the current two recommended configurations we're using across our solutions. And for BIOS, similar, you can say virtualization, storage, or Hadoop, actually, for the Hadoop solution. The Chef, am I getting close to answering your question?
Both those bar clamps are Dell branded. Does that mean that they're only supported for Dell hardware?
Well, it's hard.
The BIOS and the RAID bar clamps?
Yes, because they're very, so we have access, well, actually you have access on Dell.com for the support.dell.com to the BIOS updates for Dell hardware. I wouldn't recommend trying to apply that to an HP server, but so the thing is that the patterns to add, actually, again, I think Beth mentioned previously, folks have built bar clamps for
Yeah.
HP.
Yes.
We are actively supporting folks on the mailing, getting questions from folks on the mailing list on all kinds of crazy hardware, and happy to answer questions on the mailing list around how would I do this.